coming out of the church. We have armed personnel approaching from the church. Request permission to engage.
Copy. You are cleared to engage the moving vehicle and any personnel around you see.
Affirmative. Crew, you are cleared to engage, but do not fire on the church. Confirmed. Vehicle neutralized.
In 2007, Call of Duty changed. Leaving the historical trappings of World War II for the landscape of modern warfare, Activision's shooter series became an even bigger juggernaut, setting new trends for multiplayer progression across the genre. Over the next decade, its annual entries wound through the Cold War, near-future conflicts, and far-flung sci-fi battles. But this year, Call of Duty returns to its World War II roots, and after the campaign I just finished, I'm not so sure this homecoming was the best idea. With this new entry, Call of Duty goes back to the past in too many ways. If you're watching this video, there's a decent chance you've seen World War II through the lens of pop culture. Maybe you read Art Spiegelman's Mouse, or saw Saving Private Ryan 12 times, or rewatched Band of Brothers in the years since its HBO debut. And for good reason. These are all worthwhile stories with their own take on one of history's most catastrophic events. One explores the generational divide between Jews who survived the Holocaust and their children. The next depicts battles with repulsive accuracy. The last examines the bond between soldiers and the effects of war on a person's psyche. Even the very recent Dunkirk showed us a different kind of war film, less about fighting and more about survival, boredom, and anxiety. All of this is to say that any new additions to the World War II pantheon have a high bar to meet. They don't all have to say something profound about it, but at the very least they need to earn their historical setting. Present us with something worthwhile. Show us why they couldn't tell their story in any other place or time. Call of Duty World War II's campaign completely fails to meet this challenge. On the rare occasion Sledehammer's campaign does do something new or interesting, it wavers, opting instead to tiptoe around creativity, reverting to dated gameplay mechanics throughout its 6-hour runtime. There are at least 10 QuickTime events and 5 turret defense sequences. Several sections are on rails, and so-called heroic events don't feel heroic at all. They're choreographed to the point of yanking me out of the game. Once upon a time, it was novel to cover your squad from a sniper's perch. It was thrilling to clear a series of machine gun nests. But after years of performing these same tasks across numerous genres, it's gotten old. They've been done since, and in many cases, much, much better. Holding Call of Duty to the same standard as some of the best World War II films, books, graphic novels, and television shows may seem unfair, especially considering that there are superhuman abilities in multiplayer and undead monsters in co-op. But this is a franchise that has sold over 250 million copies in lifetime sales. It is one of the most ubiquitous names in video games. If I'm going to buy a new entry every year, I want my time and money to be worth it. And when the developer behind the game openly admits they're trying to make it feel authentic, I'm naturally going to expect more. Or at the very least, something different. There are a few moments when this newest game borders on clever. An espionage level is one of my favorites and actually creates a tension I haven't experienced in this franchise before. But that all washes away when I realized it was a glorified multiple choice test, with only 2 possible answers to each question. At this point you might be thinking, well, they can't rewrite history, and soldiers didn't go to battle during World War II saying, let's do something crazy that will make a great game in 70 years. And you're right, this isn't Wolfenstein or The Saboteur. Developer Sledehammer Games has a very specific vision for what they want this campaign to be.
And now we're back to boots on the ground.
Make it feel like it's in the war.
Yep.
It's not just outside the war or part of the war, it is in the middle of it.
Strategic and fast-paced and grounded, but rooted in a cause that's really remarkable.
Everything has to be detailed down to, like, you know, the buttons on the pockets and patches on the right side.
To not only bring this to life in a fun way for fans, but to make sure that the story we're telling honors that conflict.
I have no problem with this. If you're going to set a game during a real, extremely bloody conflict, you're straddling a tough line between being honest and making a fun game to begin with. That's a tough challenge. But Sledehammer doesn't do much with its authenticity. Its characters are all stereotypes.
Back home, you want to settle something, you do it head on. It's the only way to earn respect.
The main plot revolves around a hard-headed sergeant and a compassionate lieutenant who often butt heads. It's a slew of cliches that explore the tension between the mission and empathy, and once again, it regurgitates scenes we've seen in countless other games.
Welcome to the Bloody First. You're a long way from Texas for him, boy.
Even last year's Infinite Warfare asked more compelling questions about the toll of leadership. And right when you think World War II's story might delve into tough but compelling subjects, such as the experience of Nazi labor camps or your relationship with a person of color during the Battle of the Bulge, it veers away. These moments seem to exist just so Sledgehammer can say, look, isn't this true to the time period? Before moving on to the next set piece. Call of Duty World War II's campaign is all the more disappointing when you remember that the franchise was created specifically as a reaction to Medal of Honor, which became redundant with each new entry and strayed from its so-called authentic roots. Infinity Ward's Vince Zampella and Jason West at the time wanted to return to what made their earlier games great, and with the first Call of Duty in 2003, they succeeded. Since then, the series has gradually slipped away from its historical roots. It let you battle robots, super soldiers, and fictional spies. By doing so, the series shrugged off the weight of a dark historical period. In going back to the place where it all started, the team was assuming a huge risk. But with Call of Duty World War II, Sledgehammer doesn't really earn its setting during the Second Great War. It's a mishmash of movies and games we've seen numerous times already, and when it does show potential, it usually squanders it. No, this game does not look like it could have released in 2003, but it sure feels like it. It's as if Sledgehammer wanted to simply make the best looking World War II experience and not the most compelling. If they were trying to make the next great action blockbuster, they failed. We've seen this all before.